All right, welcome to the show. If you're here, it's the Bitcoin Cash TV show. Having a great day. Wow, look at all these tournaments happening with Block Party. Is this to celebrate cashrain? A spectate. Oh no, that one's done already. Late registration for 15K. Should we do it? 15,000. Let's do it. All right. Looks like we got everything up and running. So, turn some music on until the podcast starts, then we can listen in on a Bitcoin Cash podcast possibly. Hope everyone's having a great day. Certainly had past great few days already with the cashrain coming out. Come on in. If you like cashrain, let me know. If you like Bitcoin Cash in the chat, let me know. If you're new to crypto and Bitcoin Cash, comment in the chat and ask how you can get some free crypto or how to join the cashrain community. You can also get some free BCH by just logging into this blockchain.poker. You can get BTC, BCH, I think XEC and BSV. I won like $5 and 5,000 Satoshis yesterday in BCH. That made my night. Hi, Kaggy. How are you? Thank you for coming in. Are you familiar with Bitcoin Cash or cashrain, or are you new to the crypto? Just checking out the channel. People are dropping a lot of money on their cashrain communities. I was in the top 5 yesterday. Now I'm at number 21 on the leaderboard. I only put in 60.59 BCH so far, but slow and steady wins the race. I'm gonna keep on putting a little bit cashrain every now and then and catch up to these whales up here. Maybe I'll even get lucky and have some whale tip our community. Never know. You can tip any cashrain community, so maybe I'll go tip the gaming community one. Maybe they'll enjoy that and come check us out here. Here we go. That queen. Alright, get the queen. Oh, ace 10, jack, queen, ace. Oh, I think I got. Wait, 10, jack. Oh, I'm missing a king. Dang. Oh, wait. 10. I'm missing a king. Someone else probably has an ace. There's a 9, 10, jack. Not enough. Any big poker players on? Maybe we could follow them and get some eyes on us. Poker OK official. Looks like the big one. Oh wait, Kevin Martin. Is that a live one? This guy's streaming. Let's follow him. One big poker streamer that was in on the chess tournament during last year. I forgot what was his name, like Aces or something. But he played in the chess tournament. It seemed like he was one of the big streamers on poker. Oh, Jack, King, Queen. What else we got? Poker OK. This looks like a Russian guy. Some people like playing on this site. Poker OK. Bitcoin Cash podcast begins at 15 minutes, so we can hopefully go just listen in. If people are interested in that podcast, I highly encourage you to go check them out. Check out their stream, or all their videos are on YouTube and Odyssey. And definitely go check out their cashrain community, be a part of that. They even have a promotion right now with an active cashrain to, if you retweet them, they can you'll get some cashrain and also believe they said, Jeremy said they'll be giving away 1 BCH on their podcast soon, so it'll be fun. Who else is a big poker streamer? Seems like a live one. Peace and Louvre. This guy I follow. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, check. Ace, king. Not a good hand for me. There's the king, so we got the jack and the 10. I have nothing. High card. Yep. Jack 10, that's what I needed. Suited too. My goodness. Let's go. Let's see some hearts or some jacks and 10s or a straight. Oh, king. I did not need that. This guy's playing the marble game. Fold. Who else is a big poker streamer? Is anyone watching? Know who the coolest poker streamers are? Let me know if you're watching a recording of this or a live version. Queen 9, should I do it? I feel it's decent. Of course, kings again. Kings are hot. Not much poker activity. It's not very popular. Baba. It's like a different language. Little trash. Grind and chill. Dark electro metal. Saturday grind. Check these guys out. Good price. Poker's not too popular. That game is popular on Twitch. Maybe not poker. The slots. I was like XQC playing slots. Sponsored by them. be, but I don't think there is a sponsor for it. I think it's kind of like an open source, decentralized type of deal. Maybe the owner takes a small cut. I don't see much advertising for it. On Bitcoin Cash TV, we're gonna be here, try to be here every day. Weeknights, 8 to 10, and weekends, 1 to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Let's get it. Hopefully can grow a community on Twitch here. It'd be nice because I see there's an affiliate program. If I have an average of 3 viewers and a certain amount of time and followers, get affiliated. Advertising, which I don't know how I feel about yet, but yeah, win. Oh, 2 pair, the ace. Yeah, let me know. Do Twitch audiences like affiliate channels? Do you get bombarded with commercials, or do you get commercials anyway? And we'll just get a cut of it. Oh, this looks like Las Vegas. I just stayed at the Strat a few weeks ago for my anniversary. I don't think that's the Strat in Las Vegas though. It looks like a different Space Needle tower. That was really cool. I had dinner up there. I went up on the observation deck. Very beautiful view. I did not manage to play any real poker though, because I just didn't have time for that. Really smoky there too. I kind of started getting sick after the 2nd or 3rd day. I didn't want to really be in the smoky casino area. Oh, here we go. Alright, let's lure them in. Bet minimum. I probably should have checked so they don't think I have king. I know. Dang it. good hand of the day, I bet. Dang it. Oh well. Live you learn, right? Let's see. Looks like the BCH pod's about to start in 5 minutes. Another ace king flop. Interesting. King 5. See the kings. Oh, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7. I just need the 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I got the king instead. You think he has a straight? 6, 7, 8. Let's bet. Call them out. Oh, we both had a king. Nice. Oh, here we go. Lines went up and I got the king ace. Let's go. Let's see it. Kings and aces have been hot. Now watch, it's gonna be like 2, 4, 7, 3, 7 jack, what'd I say? But we had a queen and a 10, another ace, king. Oh, this guy. Oh, he has the jack, huh? BCH Bull has a cash rain going on. Active cash rain. Retweet. Let's do it. $28 jackpot. Oh my goodness. Guys, go like and retweet this BCH Bull. 19 hours left. I think it's almost time for the BCH pod. Look, 9, 10, jack. Cashrain app has a Twitch page too, so go follow that. King Jack, let's go. chance. Might as well. I went in this far. King. Raise him. Could be a bad idea. Call. All in. Call. 2 pair. Okay, let's make it look like we're thinking here. Check. Full house. Come on. He thinks he has it too. Does he have a king again? Yes. He had the queen pair and I had the king pair. Oh. That's how you do it. 7. Straight or flush. Oh, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, a 3 or a 5. 3 and a 5. Okay, I'm gonna win that. Ace 9 suited. I don't think so. See the aces here. Come on, man. Why you gotta raise pre-flop? Is the ace good enough? How did I know that was gonna happen? How did we know? Ace 3, let's check it out. I get queens. Ace, 2 pair. What? No! Oh. Not using unauthorized, all copyright free. Twitch already trying to ban me. Come on, man. What is copyright? I wish they would tell you what is copyrighted. I'm playing a strictly no copyright music channel. Guess I'll just ignore that. Okay, Ace Jack suit, let's go. Copyright audio warnings because they are fake. Fake news. Right, I think Jeremy started. Let's go check it out. Now we can turn off the copyrighted music, even though it's no copyright. The AI is so dumb. Bitcoin Cash podcast.
Real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Bitcoin is punk rock. Deal with it.
You split, we bankrupt you.
Do you use like e-wallets to pay for things or not?
No.
Bitcoin Cash would be seen as more of a threat to the United States hegemony than Bitcoin.
Miles, Tom, what's your favorite kind of money?
Bitcoin Cash.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast, following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 66, St. Kitts Retro and cashrain release, featuring David Hudman. Today is Saturday, the 3rd of December, 2022. I'm your host, Jeremy. Same as always, Jet is producing the show, and our guest today is a Bitcoin Cash advocate, a St. Kitts attendee for BCH 22. So we're going to get his thoughts on that. Also a computer programmer and a world-class runner, has been absolutely destroying me on Strava with some quick runs, putting me to shame in that regard. Welcome to the show, David, man.
I'll take that compliment.
How'd you get into Bitcoin?
David.
I mean, I heard about it in college.
David.
I was in college back in 2012, 2013, doing business information systems, and I had friends who were building mining rigs and things, and they were directing me to the sites that, like, back in the day, you could still mine Bitcoin by contributing, your laptop's power or whatever, and like out of Windows, and like my college girlfriend had a Mac, and like hers could mine better than mine could, but it was still like pennies and didn't really even matter. But even now, with all the appreciation, it'd be still pennies. But yeah. So I was hearing about it from there, and I was hearing about it from like getting into Ron Paul and reading the Ron Paul forums, hearing all the people saying it was like one day it's going to go to $10,000. I'm thinking like, yeah, right. You guys are crazy. and and then I mean, by 2018, I think I was buying a product from Cody Wilson,
Oh yeah.
renowned maximalist.
Yes.
He sells the Ghost Gunner.
Yes.
This is like home build uh, gun manufacturing equipment, and because the credit card companies wouldn't process his transactions, I mean, he had to use Bitcoin out of necessity. And yeah, I had a Coinbase account at the time, or maybe I created one, and I just sent it like straight from Coinbase straight to him. And at the time, Bitcoin, I mean, it was years ago, but it was still like $8,000, so it hasn't appreciated that much since that time. I guess it would have been post fork. So
Right. So you knew about Bitcoin for all those years, and you even mined some, but then you didn't actually like get some or try like transacting with it yourself until those years later when you actually had a need for it.
yeah, well, I hate to say that I was mining it. Like I just found some website that it would I didn't
Like
build a
cloud
rig or
hashing type
anything.
of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, it was something I was aware of, and I think the first time I really sent that transaction was to pay for the Ghost Gunner. Maybe I did a practice transaction or something, but it wasn't until maybe 2021, maybe 2020, when I was just like, okay, I want to download a wallet and see what this is about. And I actually downloaded Bitcoin Core, and was syncing the blockchain. I tried out Ethereum, like see. I remember when I went from Bitcoin BTC to Ethereum, I was like, whoa, Ethereum's way faster. And I mean, I was trying out like all kinds of different wallets to see like what the best experience was. And I mean, there are definitely some like good projects out there on the BTC side. And I played around with Lightning and like tried to run a Lightning node using the Umbrel setup. If you guys are familiar with that,
Yeah.
basically like home Raspberry Pi, and um, you can.
How'd you find it? Give us an honest review. To be honest, I haven't probably dug into some of that stuff as much as I should have. So it's good to get a objective take on it.
Well, the amount of sats I was putting into it, I was kind of like, okay, this is going to be some amount I'll play around with to get it started, and it just kind of wasn't enough. And I was kind of like, wait, I'm gonna have to put up like some serious money that don't really have, to just sort of that I could potentially lose, if I break whatever. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but with Bitcoin appreciating as much as it was like, oh, I'm gonna have to put up like a few $1,000s to have anyone want to open a channel with me. So I just kind of backed out of it. But I mean, like as far as onboarding people or getting them introduced, like I'm happy to send them sats over Lightning or like whatever. Although I think the user experience is definitely in Bitcoin Cash, and I think that's what matters the most. And I started getting into that as I was reading Twitter and reading about El Salvador and what they were doing. I think that's probably when I saw Mark Falzon's videos. He probably like got me into Bitcoin Cash. Maybe want to go to El Salvador though. I mean, like all his videos were great, and like seeing St. Kitts, that's part of the reason I wanted to go there. And yeah, I'm just seeing the arguments back and forth on Twitter with people talking about like, yeah, this is why like BCH works and could be a better system for the people. And I'm far from maximalist. I mean, like I'm for trying different things out and kind of seeing what works, but it seems like BCH definitely has an advantage over BTC in the money for the world kind of category. But I like other projects like Monero. I like Zcash is interesting, but I'd say like Monero and Bitcoin Cash are probably at the top of my interests.
Yeah, well, there you go. That would be pretty typical of the listeners. A few weeks ago, we did maybe even a couple of months at this point, we did a listener survey, and that was like the most common coin was obviously BCH, right? But then people had Monero and Ethereum were the two standouts that most listeners were sort of interested in, and then BTC, BSV, and like a a couple others, but that was those were the most crossover that I think we had. Hey, Dr. Token with a 3 in the E and Nufflebeer 604. We've got a bunch of new listeners tuning in this time that I've got to shout out. We're going to do a live cash rain in 18 minutes, but I'll mention all that in a moment. But because of cash rain, I'm hoping that we're going to have a lot of new listeners on this episode. It seems like we have so far. Anyway, we'll get to that in just a minute. So starting with the price, as always, we have BCH making a bit of a recovery the last couple weeks. Now $111.62 USD. It's now 1 BTC buys 152.6 BCH. So BCH has improved on that ratio actually fairly decently. And 1 Ethereum buys 11.37 BCH. So Bitcoin Cash is again improving against ETH as well as BTC and USD since the last show a couple weeks ago. How do you handle the markets, man? Like you said, you interested in different projects? Do you sort of split your investments around? Do you speculate a lot? Do you just hodl it all in cold storage? How do you do you trade at all? How do you handle crypto markets and the volatility?
Well, for a while I was using the gosh, what's it called? It was Badger or something that lets you buy.
Badger Wallet,
Yeah, it lets you buy a couple different cryptocurrencies for free. BTC was in the list, and that was probably the most correlated with BCH or whatever I was buying. So I didn't really have. I had to you'd have to pay for Pro to use to get BCH or maybe to get some different coins. So I just kind of stuck with BTC and then just traded when I wanted to. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really trading much, or like if I hear about something or I was like, I want some Monero, I'll just get some. Like maybe I think I got a little bit of Monero before the whole Russia thing, which like made me think that I was like doing well in crypto for a while. But I think I'm net down, like overall.
Most of us are, especially in BCH, man.
Yeah, it's just like when I think about when I should have gotten in when I really first heard about it, that I should be up a lot, but I'm not.
It's a get rich slow kind of thing, which is the grand irony of crypto, is that everybody sees it as getting rich quick, but actually the richest people in the space, for the most part, obviously some of them were there really early, but the way that they got rich was by being early, but by not fucking it up. That was actually the bigger thing. It wasn't that they made some sick investments here and here and here. Like usually it was like they got a bunch of BTC, they put it in cold storage, and they waited for like 9 years, and they just didn't lose it, didn't get scams, didn't put it into an exchange that went bust, didn't fuck it up this way. Like maybe they got in on early on another couple of the more legitimate projects, but they didn't throw it all away in some crappy projects or whatever, right? That's really been the key to success, and especially with BCH, given that it is like now at those prices of $100 a coin that BTC was back in the day. If a flippening or when a flippening is on the cards, you're gonna be all good at that point. But obviously we've got to push that boulder a little bit further up the hill before it starts rolling on its own, I guess you could say. So speaking of that, we've had some pretty good action this week on that front. So probably it was on Thursday night maybe, or on Friday morning, Kim.com came out with his cash rain project that I'd seen the demo of, and we've talked about a little bit on this show, but viewers were still saying like, what is this? Can you explain it all or whatever? And now it's actually out, so people can try it. It's in open beta, although they were running out of signups. So if you aren't able to sign up, well, you just go to cashrain.com. You can try and sign in and whatever. And if you can't sign up because they closed the beta, which they said they were going to be doing soon, then you can still get in, but you'll need an invite link from someone who's in. So I don't know, hang around on Twitter or whatever Bitcoin Cash friends you have and see if one of them will get you an invite, because that will still be able to get you in. But essentially what it is it's this idea that Kim had to make a viral tipping and kind of promotion app that lets you airdrop money to BCH, right? To huge crowds of people essentially. So like the Bitcoin Cash podcast has created a community which currently has I think about 1600 or 1730 people in it who have all signed up. Now there's no barrier to entry right now on any community, so you can just go on and then you can just join up on every community, which is what I think a lot of people are doing. I've just joined a couple of the people I know in the space, but I don't just join up to random ones because I don't really see the need. But then what happens is either the content, like the owner of the channel, can either just do a cash rain where they pay in some amount of BCH, let's say like $100 worth, and then it basically just splits out to everybody in the community with some sort of random gamification in there, right? So let's say I send in $100, maybe it sends 10 cents to 1,000 people. But if I have 2,000 subscribers, well, obviously some of them will miss out, but it is random. So as people are still tipping, then it will go to them, on the next round or whatever. And the key point is that the community creator can obviously do that to sort of promote things, but then other people in the community can also do it if they're enjoying the community or just to give back. Basically, they can also just send in money and it just cash rains onto everyone. So it kind of has this nice dopamine inducing element where everybody feels like they're kind of getting rich. And a lot of people don't need to contribute. They can just get a couple of bucks of free BCH out of it, funded by whoever wants to promote themselves, like in this case, the podcast. And the other element to it is that, like I said, it is random, but your chance increases if you follow the Twitch or the Twitter account of the linked by the content creator. So a lot of people, and actually it's happened quite fast so far, have followed. So this channel, we had about 108 Twitch followers 48 hours ago, and now we've got like 600 and something. So this has just driven a massive increase, like 6x in 48 hours. And then on Twitter, it's also just bumped me up about 500 or 600 followers from 2,500 roughly to over 3,000. So the real question has been, were these all just bots or were they real people? So that's why I said I was very interested to see in the chat. We've had a few new first-time chatters, so it seems like at least a few people were real and they did come through and check in on the stream. I don't know how many are real and how many are not. That sort of remains to be seen, but that's the kind of overview of cashrain so far. Have you had a chance to check it out, and what did you think?
I haven't checked it out, so I've heard about it. It sounds like a cool concept, and it seems like BCH has an advantage. Just due to being able to do instant payments, like smaller payments, smaller fees, maybe even an advantage over Lightning, because Lightning's fees are not zero. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to check it out for myself. But it sounds cool. Sounds like a cool app. Just I haven't had time so far. Been working on my own stuff.
We've got It's No One, Scott Space, and GKB TBL in the chat. First time chatters all confirming that they are not bots and that they're enjoying cash rain. So that's good to see. Like it seems like it is actually creating quite a bit of hype. I mean, I sort of felt like there might be some element where it's attracting kind of a combo, of real people and bots. But then once you get a certain number of real people or even bots liking or retweeting your tweets, then it starts getting onto other real people's feeds by, recommended, 100 people like this post or whatever it's such. So it can start a bit artificial and then snowball into being organic. That's kind of what I felt was sort of happening a little bit, but it will only remain to see as time goes on whether the posts continue to have the sort of organic traction and stuff separate to the cash rain posts, or whether the cash rain promoted or hype things were the only time when everyone gets really excited and engaged about that. But it certainly hasn't just been me. I've seen a bunch of other people talking about, like Bitcoin Jason and several others have found the same effect. So I don't know how Kim has done this, that he's just found some loophole in the internet or something to just massively blow up BCH, because this is the first 48 hours of his beta, right? He hasn't even had any time to adjust things or tweak things or improve it, or I don't know, like whatever changes to the formula or feedback. None of that. Just on his first shot at it, it already seems to be taken off. So seems to be kind of pretty bullish. I don't know. Are you caught off guard by the success of this in any way, or how much hype you've heard?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wanting to check it out now because like you have gotten me really curious. So I mean, and he's a big influencer with a huge following, and this is a guy they mention like in national media periodically. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the influence that has. But yeah, I mean, like when you're looking at this and the other projects people are working on, like that give people more of an opportunity to use it in a real way, I think that's all going to be really positive.
Yeah,
I think there are
huge.
other bullish signals too. Right now, I mean, like I hate to get like too into the price and stuff, but
no, go ahead.
I mean, I was listening to Ryan Giffen on his YouTube channel this morning, and he was talking about how he wanted to tip somebody in BCH, and they basically like got really mad at him and said like, how could you do this after FTX? Like everybody lost all this money, and like you're trying to like give this stuff out or whatever. It's like, I mean, you don't hear people saying like, oh man, like a bank failed. Like, why are you trying to give dollars out? But I mean, it just, when there's that kind of panic about it, it just seems like, I mean, I'm not an analyst or anything, but that sounds like about the most bullish kind of signal you can get is when people are hostile to an asset. So
at the bottom of the bear market, yeah, well that's right.
Yeah,
we might see.
And I mean, these weren't like technical people. These were like people who he was going to tip for like working on his car or like, fixing his tire or something, and like those people are being hostile. So got to think like it's a good time to buy.
Well, it all comes good in the end, which is that time cleans away a lot of the frauds, but the solid projects basically remain. And so while it is difficult for the solid project like Ethereum or like Bitcoin Cash to sort of fight through over time, nevertheless, they do slowly build up credibility as people come into the scene and then research like what are the oldest, longest running things, what are their projects with real people behind, and it's not just a pump and dump, or it's not just a scam that's going to blow up, or it's not making all these promises that it's not going to like fulfill. I mean, I say that global reserve currency and all that, but that's actually like there's a lot of history behind that. That's not just something that I'm just making up from nowhere. There is the fundamentals of money, and people are using it to transact, and it is catching on. And there is not some company ready to just dump 80% of the supply on everyone. You can see in the chat here we've got Brazil, Mexico, Bangladesh, maybe someone from Argentina as well too. So yeah, we've got a whole bunch of new listeners from all over the world. It seems like from this whole cash rain endeavor. I don't know what I was expecting, that I sort of like having the viewers go up, the followers go up 6x to buy as well. Yeah, forward. I was expecting like some increase because I didn't feel like you can't get 500 followers and have them all be bots. Some of them would obviously tune in, but I also didn't know whether it would just be crazy and like suddenly there'd be just the chat would just be flooded with all these new people. It seems like a bit of a mix, about what I sort of expected, that we've had definitely a few new people have been checking in and interested and following it. But at the same time, yeah, some people are just there to try and get their 2 cents of on-chain tips and then duck out of there. So we're going to do a 1 BCH cash rain live on the show in 4 minutes. At the moment, let me just refresh here. We got 154 people have entered into this by liking or retweeting, and then we've also got so I'm setting in 1 BCH, and there'll be a jackpot of $28, 0.25 BCH. So somebody will get $30 out of just being being one of the retweeters there, which is pretty good, I guess. So obviously part of this also has been that it's boosted the kind of on-chain activity for the blockchain. So that's my stat of the week this week. Transactions per second have rocketed up in the last 7 days. The graph kind of is close to about 0.2 transactions per second on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. And then after cashrain was released, it went up from 0.18, 0.2 up to 0.3 or 0.35. So almost kind of 1.5x or doubled, and then dipped off a little bit after the initial hype. And then it rocketed up a ton more to 0.7 transactions per second. So more than tripling, nearly quadrupling what it had been before as well. So part of that is the cashrain hype, because all of this stuff is all on chain, and that's why it's so important that people are getting onboarded this way, because they do learn how to use an actual wallet and stuff like that. Like, we're not onboarding them to an exchange, or we're not showing them some
Hello, Gerardrux. I'm at least here. Yeah. The name of the Web3 poker is called blockchain.poker. You can go there and get some free chips that are actual real Bitcoin, and then you could start playing. You can also enter into these the free roll tournaments here and get it that way. That's cool. Welcome 284 55 55. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it.
Beholden on us to do that. We've got 80 seconds until the cashrain. Jed, have you got the stream up ready to show us? We'll do it live.
Let's see the nines.
Okay, all right. 1 minute. This is all live, so if this doesn't work, we're gonna see it fuck up right now. But I haven't done one of these. Cashrains. I've done the cashrains, but not these ones that are only they're called active cashrains, that they tick down and then they hit the timer, and then you have to pay them. So apparently what happens is, if you don't pay and you try and scam everyone with a lot of hype, but then you don't fall through, Kim said that they're just monitoring it. If people's accounts are doing that, then they're just gonna ban you. But
so great, like John McAfee.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it seems like in the future they should add it actually, so that you just pay in advance, so the money is already there. I think that would actually be a lot better. But okay, here we go. 10 seconds. Got the countdown. My little, let's see how many people. 159 people have entered. 2, 1. So cash drain on participants. So I'm going to go here. Let it rain. Your invoice is being generated. This can take a moment. That's what I'm seeing on my screen. And it's got to give me a... Oh, here we go. Here's the QR code. And it's saying for 0.7564 BCH. I promised 1 BCH, so I'm not sure why it was less. But okay, let me just send that.
It's for how much BCH?
Sent. Well, I was trying to send 1 BCH. Oh, here we go. Okay, so it did. On my wallet, it says 0.756 BCH, but it said 1.01 BCH has been rained to 157 winners. Congratulations to @TopParker, who got $28 out of that, 0.25 BCH. And Dexter VIP Corp, Infinity_D1001, Jet Scythe, and Lloyd got $2.80 each, and then $44.83 has been rained to the remaining 152 participants. So congratulations, there we go. Infinity D1001 in the chat. Congratulations on your cash rain. That was pretty fun. So I think you can sort of see there that you guys should give something extra to people who are watching the stream. Well, I don't know if you want to do that. If you can put your Bitcoin Cash address, you can paste your address in the stream chat, and people might tip you some BCH. There you go. I don't know. I don't have anything special prepared for the live viewers, but I guess there's a bit of a historical. I think this is the first on stream cash rain ever. So once it's kicking off in the future, once bloody PewDiePie or like whatever, some huge guy with 1 million things is doing a cash rain, you can be like, I was there early. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a tip right now. Maybe acquire some BCH, and that's my gift to you. You can thank me in 3 years' time once this has kicked off. You may be able to set up a cash box and announce it here on live stream. That's another. If somebody can explain to me what is a cash box, that would be really helpful, because I have one now. It says, tell your community there is $1.03 left in this box, but I don't know how does anybody get this cash box? What? There's like nothing there. Whoever clicks on it, okay. Well,
yeah, I opened a couple cash boxes yesterday, and it was just like if I went to the community tab at the right time, then I could see it and it's just tap on it, and it's instantly deposited.
All right, well, so somebody's got to try and get in. There's a button for me that says delete cash box, so I'm not going to press that. But I don't know if I need to activate it or anything. It seems like it should just be there. So the first one that opened the cat, well, somebody just go and open it then, because that's free money for you right there. Lebanon 666, welcome also to the stream. Okay, all right. So that was our kind of cash rain segment there. But I don't know, Jet, did you have any thoughts on how you found it so far?
There we go. I was muted on OBS, so they wouldn't have been able to hear me. I'm just going to go back to the cash rain thing real quick so that I can see if the box is visible. I found it really easy. Like, no issues at all. I'm also just seeing here in the bottom right to the community page, it's like loading up the stream, or trying to at least.
Well, that was I didn't expect that. I was kind of, it came up, it was sort of distracting me, but apparently, yeah, our stream is live right now on cashrain.com.
Yeah.
Which I was not aware of at all. So that's a pretty cool little integration. I don't know that anybody's seen that before, because I don't know that anybody's done a live stream from one of the active cash rains. But anyway, there you go.
Yeah, I thought it's been super, super fantastic. Like, it's been, like I mentioned in the Telegram chat, I saw someone else posted that their girlfriend was interested in it, just from them being like, hey, I'm getting, like, all these micropayments. And so I was telling Alex about it, and she was like, well, how do I sign up? So, Callisti just let it rain on another 40 listeners to the podcast. Thank you for that. She signed up last night and got her first Bitcoin Cash transactions that weren't from me. So that it seems like it's actually making some progress. And the UI I find is really smooth. There's a couple features that I'd like to see, but brand new. So I'll give it some time, and I'm optimistic about it.
Bitcoin Cash TV says they got their wife signed up and onboarded. It's just fun. Like, that seems to be a bit of the magic sauce here, is that, yeah, it's just a small amount of money, basically, and it's just people have fun being charitable. It reminds me a lot of when there was the first tipping bots on Reddit, except this is just at a much bigger scale. And so anybody right now can send in 1021 is still begging hard for these Satoshis. Should shower some love on us live watchers. But anyway, yeah, it's just fun, and people can put their address in the chat. Santhi07, welcome to the stream. So yeah, we'll see how this kind of turns out. Like I said, it was just the first day, the first 48 hours, but so far it seems to have been a bit of a phenomenal hit, a bit of a sleeper hit too, because it's not really taken the crypto world by storm yet. They're all busy complaining about losing their money on FTX, but it might come back around onto that.
Right now,
so we've also got
real quick. Right now, we're also at anywhere from quadrupled to pentupled our average live viewers. So not all bots.
So there we go. So then our follower count went up 6x, and we've got 4 to 5x extra viewers. So it sounds proportional. Then it sounds like people are tuning in to check out the show, and maybe they'll be hyping hyping people up now that they've seen the live stream and people got their money. I could just see some huge, like this. I'm not a big streamer, right? We got a couple hundred subs now. Somebody with 1 million followers is going to load this up and just be like, I've already made 10 million from Twitch. Let me just throw 300,000 in here, and just a bunch of people instantly get rich, right? That's some powerful market psychology right there, don't you think?
Yeah. And especially when everybody can get something, you can give that 1 penny to everybody. It's sort of still fun.
Yeah, real sort of community bonding kind of thing. So I wanted to make one other point about this, is that so we've seen the increased activity on the network because it's important that other coins can't really copy this so much because the vast majority of coins that are EVM sort of based, like Ethereum and whatever, the fees would be way too high. It's very like one of these BCH transaction can go out to at 0.01 cent fee, and it sends to 600 or 1,000 people at once in a UTXO model. In an account model, you can't do that. You'd have to send 1,000 transactions basically. So it would be way more expensive for them to do. It's not designed in that way. So you have to be a low fee UTXO chain, which means BTC is out as well too. And even like Dogecoin and stuff, once that got a bit of traffic going, fees started going up. So this is even if Kim decided he wanted to support other coins, which I don't think he will do. I think he's like, no, we're just going to make BCH huge. Other coins can be like, wait, this is going viral. Why don't we make something like that? Well, it's not going to work for them. Firstly, technically and economically, it's not going to work. But also, secondly, viral things tend to have a first mover advantage. If you're just the knockoff whatever, everyone's like, yeah, but you didn't come up with that. I guess there was CryptoPunks, and then there was Bored Apes. And then who really cares about any of the NFTs after that? It was like, this is the crappy CryptoPunks, or this is the crappy Bored Apes, really. So, yeah, I can't see any big moves coming out of any of them. And then we had this activity on the blockchain, but I don't think it's actually all cashrain based, because I have also here a community comment of the week. So this is just a little side point, I guess, that was made, which is that Bitcoin Jason pointed out to me that the top post on Reddit is from somebody who's taken a screenshot of the Transact TX Street website, where you can visualize the transactions on the BCH blockchain and the BTC blockchain and more as people getting onto a bus, and all these people getting onto the BCH bus. And the post is titled, "When you really need high volume, low fee, and reliable service, there's really only one good choice," obviously BCH. Bitcoin Jason said, "Is there going to be a report on this?" And the author, who's this P Chandel_AU, said, "There is a more detailed story to the image shown in this post. However, the contrast between BCH and BTC was observed during a test we were running and was in itself post-worthy, in my honest opinion. For what it's worth, the test was the collaboration of 224 decentralized actors who collaborated to build a digital asset from more than 1 million components. Each component was prepaid with the permissionless peer-to-peer security of the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. The transaction count on the 2nd of December 2022 UTC tells a little more of the story. The full story will be posted in the next day or two." So these are the guys from the Bitcoin Cash City who are working on another app that is still sort of in the last little bits of development. I've heard a little bit about it from them, but I'm still actually not clear on a lot of the details. But they're ramping up and putting a lot of transactions on the chain with what they're working on. So this cashrain hype might be just the start. Like, people are gonna get excited about cashrain, and then this new one is going to be coming out as well.
Yeah,
too.
this is
Hickey17, welcome.
This is the idea that's not just about building. I mean, they say digital asset, or they're building a digital component. Like, they make it sound like it's an NFT, but I mean, from talking to them at the conference, they're talking about like actually building software. And assembling like
Put my laser
mini
protectors
digital
on.
contractors to put it all together, which is an interesting idea.
There we go.
If it can work, I'm not sure. Maybe it won't. Maybe it will though.
Yet.
Um,
6.
Yeah,
I
it's
use
gonna be-
Copilot a lot. Copilot works really well, and it sounds like they're sort of talking about something that would, have a similar kind of functionality, but in a more like spread out, like call it decentralized maybe. But yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough to define those requirements to build that out and build something that's not just pulling in like random things that don't matter. It seems like a tough problem to solve, but I mean, hey, if they can solve it, it sounds like they would make a lot of money in it.
Well, that's exactly it. So for people who don't know, Copilot is the sort of AI generated code completer, right? For
Yeah.
Visual Studio Code, or is it in? I guess it's probably in every IDE, right? But I don't know.
But-
I've actually never used it, so
Yeah, I've only used it in Copilot. It's $100 a year, and it's definitely worth it. I mean, just doing basic things that aren't anything outside that's far outside of the box. It's like, okay, I'm just calling an API. I'm just returning some data. I'm just dealing with errors. I'm just dealing with valid responses. It pretty much knows what you're doing, and it can, I guess you'd say scaffold a lot of that for you. I don't know, scaffold is the wrong word, but yeah, it's building that basic stuff for you pretty easily.
So we're going to be out of a job as software developers then pretty soon. You and I, like, what? I thought I was.
You better
supposed to
download
be
it and
the
start using it.
automation proof. Yeah, but then I'm just going to speed it up. I'm going to speed up my own demise. I'm a little bit worried about that.
No, I think we'll just be better at using it than everyone else. So
that might be the.
Please clip that out for the clips.
the last ones to be automated is the robots take all our jobs. Well, that's why we've got to have a bit of BCH, because I'm sure that the AI's favorite currency is going to be BCH too. So at least we'll have enough money to pay for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Well,
to
I remember the
negotiate
AI
with
in
our
Silicon Valley. They in the Silicon Valley sitcom did eventually crack public key encryption. So
we better upgrade. We better get some quantum encrypted keys going on there.
yeah,
pretty
let's see if the
soon.
guys Bitcoin Cash City can build the software that's resistant to that.
Yes. Well, we're definitely gonna need something like that. To be honest, and this is totally off topic, but I am starting to get a little bit wary about this stuff, because I should be the person most, the future, it's going to be great. Technology has always made things better. Yeah, it has, but we are at some seriously singularity type of stuff starting to happen right here. So maybe, I mean, there's no stopping it, right? So we just kind of got to handle it as best we can. But it does feel a bit like maybe it'll all come together pretty fast, with like brain chips getting implemented to people and AI. And what people seem to think that AI is going to be kind of benevolent or hopeful, like they're trying to keep the reins on it. But it sort of seems to me like, well, that's like the ants trying to negotiate with us, please don't destroy our hive. Well, maybe if a kid's feeling like an asshole, he just stomps on the ant's nest, and that's goodbye ants, right? That's going to be us trying to deal with these AIs. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little wary. Are you optimistic about humanity's future in a post-singularity type case?
I mean, it definitely presents some challenges. Say that. I don't think it'll represent the end of humanity or anything like that. But what I think some interesting developments are lately is that all of a sudden Elon Musk is like the hero of the right, and he's also working on the brain chips. And so you've got all these people that might have been resistant to something like that. Now they're maybe more open to it because, to them, they're really just like populists or, something along those lines. And Elon Musk is their hero now. So it sort of makes you like a little bit more, I don't know, sympathetic that there really is a group just running everything, and they're like trying to manipulate who our leaders are and things like that, to the point like not just, oh, we're going to control the president and the Congress. It's like, no, we need to control like who the thought leaders are for this like sect of people. And I mean, all of a sudden, Elon Musk is up there, and I mean, Jeff Bezos almost seemed like he was, kind of coming in at one point, saying some things that were very, pro-capitalist and things that the right would be very sympathetic to. It's like maybe they were trying them out and just seeing what stuck or something. I don't know. It might not be that sinister, but or that orchestrated, but sometimes it seems like it.
Yeah, well, it certainly does. I mean, I try to fall in a bit of a middle ground. Like, I think if you think there's nothing going on, then you just have your eyes shut, or you're just unaware of what's happening in the world. Because if you do any sort of moderate level of research on pretty much any subject, right? It's like, good ones are like the history of Bitcoin, obviously, or the what's been going on at Twitter right now is a classic case of that. But you can look into anything, really. You can find any industry that you delve into enough, you'll be able to find there was some shady shit that went on behind the scenes, and this kind of got covered up, and this history got changed, and these people got redacted from the history books. History is written by the winners, but it's also written by the ones who prefer to stay out of the limelight, right? That's just in everything. So that's definitely the case. But on the other hand, it is also true that like reality is messy, and there is not actually somebody puppeteering the strings of enough individual people, and if the world just kind of goes in the wrong direction, then whoever is trying to be manipulating things can get a bit wrecked, right? I mean, I really don't want to get into it all now because it's kind of off topic and political, but the Ukraine war at the moment is a classic case of that, with Putin clearly thought, oh, I can just grab this, and then turns out he estimated wrong, and it didn't really work out that way. But not to get into all that. Let's talk about something positive in the world. So you were at the St. Kitts conference. We met there. It was actually good. We had a good time.
Yeah.
How did you find that? Like, a lot of people have been really curious about my experience there and whatever. What was your thoughts? How did you find it?
You mean just my experience with the whole event?
Yeah.
At first, I thought you were talking about how I initially heard of it, because I actually don't remember how I initially heard of it. But as far as my experience there, it was great. Really interested to see, after like Mark Falzon posting the videos and going to.
By the way, if anyone's watching, I just made a cash box on our community page, Bitcoin Cash TV. So if you're here and you can hear this, go check it out. I put, for the first 50 people that get it, they can get a little bit of cash. So check it out.
We saw people who weren't that familiar with it, and we tried to onboard them. But we also went down to the port. I'm not sure if you came with us that night, but we went to Nevis, and so we had to take a boat over there, and so we had to take like a taxi to the boat, and we just kind of like found a taxi driver who accepted it. So it wasn't like we had to ask him or anything. He was like, "Oh yeah, you did Bitcoin Cash? Yeah, I'm doing that." And there are people all over that port area where the cruise ships come in. That was where we went down and found the taxi driver, but there were people all over that area that accepted, like lots of merchants. So you've got people coming off the cruise ships that are seeing where they can spend it, and that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, for me, I was there for 2 weeks, and I made 5.5 fiat transactions for at the grocery store. If they'd been able to onboard them, that would have been brilliant, because then I would have been able to get nearly 100%. One with a taxi on the way back, because the guy had a bad experience. It was funny actually, because he told me this story where I said, "Do you take Bitcoin?" And he said, kind of, but not really. And I was kind of, oh, this is interesting. Like, what does that mean? And so as we're driving to the airport, he explained to me that apparently he had somebody who said, "I'll pay in Bitcoin," and then they basically just scammed him and kind of ran off at the end. So I was kind of like, okay, well, that sucks. I mean, whoever that was screwing up the reputation of the Bitcoin community, thanks, whoever that was, because now you've soured this guy on it. But on the other hand, it was very interesting because in a previous iteration, I would expect to have that story convince someone that Bitcoin Cash was to blame, but he seemed very aware of the fact that like somebody could have scammed him in US dollars, and that it was the person who'd scammed him that was the problem and not the actual Bitcoin Cash. Like he'd seen enough other Bitcoin Cash stuff going on to know that it was legitimate, right? And so that was kind of interesting. So I did pay in fiat because I didn't want to push him on that, but I paid him in fiat, and then I also paid one other taxi driver half in fiat because on the way there I convinced them that to take some BCH, so they took 50% fiat, 50% BCH, which was awesome. Cool. I also met a bunch of listeners to the show, which was really cool. Everybody's really cool in person. People look different in person. That was another thing I found a lot, is that everybody was kind of how I expected them to be. It was not like some people had some big online personality and then in reality they were completely different. But a lot of people, the first time I so not with you actually, I instantly kind of recognized you, but a lot of other people, they were like, I was like, "Hi, I'm Jeremy," and they're like, "Oh, I'm so and so," like that you should know, or that we've like spoken on Telegram or something. And I was always like, "Oh yeah," because sometimes the image that I have of them is like their one profile picture where they've got a different haircut, or they're just like in a different lighting or something like that, and then you see them in 3D, and as soon as they say, "Yeah, I'm so and so," your brain connects and it knows. But just turning around with someone like, "Hey, I'm so," and you just kind of like, "Oh, hi." So that was a super interesting experience, I think. But I
didn't expect you to have like the big wings behind you, that because you can't see it in these pictures, with your front profile. Like if you turn sideways, Jeremy's got these huge wings. Just like starts flying around.
Look at the fucking angel, angel of death, just like coming. I didn't actually get a plane to St. Kitts. I just like dive bombed in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's Icarus wings. Like a let's see, who's the Marvel character? The guy that like wasn't a superhero and then they gave him the wings. It's not Hawkeye. What's this guy's name? Falcon?
There's that guy like Jeremy Renner or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, the black guy in the movies. He's like the only Black Avenger, I think. No, and Black Panther. Yeah, Black Panther in him.
Oh, I don't know that guy. I haven't seen most of those Marvel movies.
I think his name is Falcon. Anyway.
Falcon. I'm like Falcon. All right. Well, I'll take it. I'm a superhero.
It's pretty cool.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. So that was awesome, meeting a ton of people. And one thing I also found as well, I don't know if you found this too. Well, you're kind of in this category, to be honest. Was I met a bunch of people who were there, obviously for BCH and the part of it, but a lot of people who came along just sort of circumstantially, like you weren't personally like Bitcoin Cash 100%, fuck all the other crypto. You're not like that, right?
Yeah.
But you just were like, "Oh, this is interesting, let me check this out." And then they came along and they were really impressed. So I met several people who were just came along by some circumstance or another. "Oh, I'll see how this is going." And then they were like, "Wow, it's actually happening," because I think seeing it being exchanged everywhere and so on really made a big impression. I think it will be hard for them to be convinced about other scams or other cryptos unless they see that same thing happening, because they've seen the progress. Did you notice that for yourself or for other people?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I totally understood the question there.
Well, so like you came along not necessarily like converted to Bitcoin Cash as, okay, this one's really, like you said, you like Monero and you've tried BTC and these other things. Did coming to the conference convince you in any way that Bitcoin Cash is leading the industry in that chances of being the world's money?
Yeah, I mean, probably a couple things. User experience I mentioned already. That's a huge one. And just seeing the OGs, you got people in there that have been around since 2009 and they're developers or they built mining rigs or something. They've been in it for a long time. They came to the BCH side. That kind of shows me there's some potential, because I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's quite as many BSV folks that have that much experience with Bitcoin. There are a few. There are definitely a few, but BCH seems a lot more serious. And the fact that there's people everywhere accepting it, I think that's a big deal. And there's more stuff coming. Like, there's going to be more off ramps, ways to get back to fiat, and ways to like actually use it to save money. I think that's going to be a huge a huge thing that it's going to make people want to just, oh, why should I stop using dollars, the credit card system when that works fine? I think there's going to be incentives ahead, and BCH makes it possible because the fees are so low and everything's so fast. So I think that's huge. Yeah,
that's super
I have a
cool.
lot of confidence. I mean, there are some issues. I'm not going to say like there's nothing out there. Like people have never raised any points to me. Like,
What were the issues? Yeah.
Well, I mean, like we talked about Monero. It's like Monero kind of doesn't work that well as using quickly in a shop or something. You got like long sync times, and how long does it take to confirm? Like I don't really even know what the confirmation time is in Monero. Do you know?
Well, I think they have, it would be after a few blocks, and I think they have maybe like 8-minute blocks or something, something weird like that. But
It's
yeah,
like,
I honestly have no idea.
and they have like perpetual inflation, but at the same time it's like part of their security model. And I mean, I don't know if it's exactly set up right, but it does seem like, oh man, will the mining reward be enough? Because right now it's 6.25, Bitcoin or BCH, and whichever miner, or sorry, whichever blocks the miners are, blockchains the miners are participating in. So when that goes down to, 0.06, 40 years from now or whatever, it's like, will it be enough? And will we have to make some changes? I don't know. I mean, I say we, like, I'm not working on stuff at that slow level. Yeah.
Well, we just need to get enough adoption, right? That's really, because I think this whole inflation thing is sort of largely misunderstood, right? And that's one of the points I take issue with the Monero community on, is that they say, oh, look, the reward is going to run out, so therefore you guys are not going to have any security if you don't build up enough transactions. That's true. But their solution to that is, okay, we've added this perpetual inflation. And you're like, okay, well, then you've kind of screwed up the sound money if you've added this inflation. And then what they come back and say to you is, yeah, but we've added inflation, but it's consistent. So over time, it becomes a smaller and smaller like percentage until it eventually it kind of tails off until it's so small that it's basically not noticeable. And what they haven't, in that 3-step conversation that you've had there, what they've kind of papered over is that there's no free lunch, right? If you have inflation, like somebody needs to pay for the security. So either you pay with it with inflation or with transaction fees. So the BCH strategy is, we're just going to get a lot of transaction fees, and that's going to be the answer, right? But the Monero strategy is like, well, that's not going to work. So we've added inflation, but the inflation is going to tail off. So it's basically the same thing. No, it isn't basically the same thing, because then you're back to having to get transaction fees. Because otherwise, if you've got, a tiny fragment of inflation and no transaction fees, you've got no security anyway. So if you're adding inflation and that's your solution, that's fine. But you can't try and have your cake and eat it at the same time and say, well, we're going to have trivial inflation, but also not really need transaction fees to rise to make up the difference. So,
yeah, I'm not, super deep into that, as far as I don't know all the arguments in that argument. So,
yeah,
but it's, yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting concept at the very least. And I was listening, I guess I'm more interested from like the economic side of it. And I was listening to some stuff on the this podcast called Rebel Capitalist, and it's by this guy named George Gammon. He's pretty popular. He's probably got like 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he's kind of along the lines like Peter Schiff, but maybe a little bit more sympathetic to cryptocurrency and stuff like that. I mean, he definitely likes the ideas. And he had us on this guy, Jeff Snyder, who seems to really understand like how the banking system works in the US and in Europe, and has kind of described a lot of these situations that are like really fuzzy for me, like these like repo arrangements, and why we have like swap lines with like the Fed and like the Swiss bank, and like why money is moving. But anyway, he was kind of speaking about Bitcoin and talking about how like even though there's technically no inflation, there can be inflation within like a small area. Like he basically described this this old, like, I guess you'd say philanthropist or something. He was a traveler, he had a lot of money, and he basically brought gold into this community and like wanted to help them out. And he just like was giving away a lot of gold, or paying for a lot of things, like supposedly helping out their economy. But basically, like, the fact that he gave away all this gold, it caused like hyperinflation. And he went on and had to go back and like tried to like like kind of suck the gold back out so that it wouldn't destroy everything there. And you can have similar things with Bitcoin. It's not it might not be like on the total like global scale, but there can be similar issues.
Well, yeah, you certainly have the case, and it's sort of interesting, yeah, that in any scenario, printing money doesn't bring prosperity, right? You need actual economic trade to occur, and printing money is just a temporary stopgap, which the government tries and it always fails. And then this guy tried. It doesn't matter whether it was gold or something else. In a local economy, you put in a bunch of cash, it's going to change the situation, right? And that was one of the things I thought was quite interesting about the St. Kitts thing, is that yes, adoption is not everywhere, but I can see that it will rapidly spread on the order of 1 to 3 years maybe, because the people who are closer to the inflowing money, which is the BCH, the tourists bringing it in, or people making online purchases in BCH, are going to be benefiting relative to the rest of the economy. So the people who are missing out on that BCH, if they have some objections or they don't like it or it's too unfamiliar or whatever, they're pretty quickly going to discover, wait, everybody else is on this rising tide and I'm being left out. And so that will kind of convert them by default. That's how like you were saying about the taxi drivers, right? So, like the one I talked to, he didn't really want to accept it, but some of the others do. And all of the attendees were all trying to find the taxi drivers who were accepting BCH. So it's just a no-brainer that the rest of them, especially since it's so easy and they can just jump on, they just need to ask somebody else to show them how it works for 30 seconds, then they've got it, right? So I don't know. What would be your prediction for the St. Kitts adoption? Do you think if we go back in 1 year, do you think it'll be significantly more improved or not?
I mean, I think it does depend on people putting work in on the ground. So it's kind of hard to predict how much work people are willing to put in. And just like, it also depends on, are we contributing with our projects, or developers contributing? So there's a lot of factors there. And it really depends on how much work people are willing to put in. And we're taking for granted even like the people writing the Node software. I'm not involved in that, and I wouldn't want to be. So just it seems so hard. It's like, it's probably like Bitcoin wallets are for the average person. Honestly, it's like, if you just like get over like a couple of these hurdles, or just like willing to sit down for a little while, you can figure out a Bitcoin wallet. It's not hard. Bitcoin.com wallet makes it so easy and all this stuff. And it's probably the same thing with the, if I wanted to contribute to the nodes or whatever, maybe I could do that with a similar kind of attitude.
Yeah. So speaking of the nodes, that's our next topic. We've got BCHN have released V25.0. So they're obviously one of the most popular node software on BCH, and we've had this new release comes with support for all of the chips, the network upgrades that is happening in May 2023. So you've got restrict transaction version, which basically locks in the current transaction versions, which are 1 and 2, as being the only valid ones, so that people can't be trying to sneak in soft forks like they did on SegWit on BTC. So it's kind of shutting off that. And if you want to do an upgrade, you have to do a hard fork, which in the BTC land is a catastrophe. But in BCH land, it's actually smart, because it means that people will have to convince the community that this is the direction everyone's going in, and you can't have these weird UASF type of political shenanigans. Then you've got chip 2021-01 minimum transaction size has been lowered from 100 bytes to 65 bytes. So for potentially some use cases where you need smaller transactions, that will work, and obviously allow us to get more transactions for the same amount of block space. So that's a good thing. You have cash tokens. which is the headliner, really, which is allowing BCH to have on-chain native fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens, as well as better smart contract capabilities and state basically embedded into the blockchain, which is huge. And then you have pay to script hash 32 as well, which is one that allows a new type of contract that's more secure for multi-sig and other complicated types of contracts, I believe, as well, too, which is important because now we're adding cash tokens and bigger integers, and all this stuff is making the chain more powerful. So you can't have edge cases where people are locking up, hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever, and then their coins are getting attacked by hash collision attacks and things like that. So got a ton of good stuff. And I mean, to me, the notable thing is really that this upgrade is in May and it's the start of December. It's already out. So I don't know about you, but to me, this is like some unheard software development where things are getting out ahead of time rather than behind time. So how much do you follow actually the node development stuff and the protocol things? Like, I mean, you're a dev, right? So you might be able to get in the mix there. But what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like people are really doing work, and obviously there's top-notch guys, I mean, that we met at the conference that are involved in this. But I mean, it's just not something that I really dedicate a lot of time to looking into. I just kind of focus my efforts on what I'm working on and try to, I mean, if there's a new feature that I can take advantage of course, like I'd love to, but I just kind of try to use what's available to me and build things.
I know what kind of content you create, sir. What's your name? My name is
things at the application layer.
Chad.
So.
Oh.
Yeah, and
not,
I mean, it's
not super exciting, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's something that BCH is just very strong on, and I feel very blessed in that regard. Is that because of the whole history with the number of forks and stuff, there's been a lot of turnover with the core devs, but that actually shows an incredible resilience that there were enough people to come in and fill those gaps when it was left open. And I think for as much as the rest of the ecosystem can be a bit scrappy with its like financial situation with the price declines and like for instance a lot of the marketing and so on is not really well funded, or the businesses so much that's starting to get fixed, but it's still kind of coming together, especially I guess with cashrain now. But the node teams seems like they've got money and they're sorted, and they're just happy to just keep working away, and they're just churning out industry-leading stuff
so
that
easily,
we're
like
all
Bitcoin
really
Cash.
going to benefit
So I figured
from.
a Bitcoin Cash
the
community
reason it hasn't
on
exploded
Twitch,
so much yet is because
gaming
people
one,
like you and me coming in to make apps.
Bitcoin Cash
that's
podcast
more of
has
a newer
theirs
thing.
on Twitch
you need
too,
to
but
have a nice stable protocol, a powerful
I'll
protocol.
do some gaming side, and maybe I can
around,
do stuff like this.
much,
watch other Bitcoin Cash videos or documentaries, or
3 months or 6 months.
A couple weeks ago, we watched the live conference from St. Kitts.
Blah blah blah. Getting entrenched
8 hours
in the
long.
community that it's going to pay off, and it's not like this is
Hey
going to
Omar,
be an
thanks for
FTX
coming.
scam, and suddenly I spent 6 months of my life learning your cash script, and then this coin isn't around anymore, or I made this whole library or this community tooling or whatever, and then I'm just wrecked. So I think we'll see more. Like cashrain is a classic example of that, and that other thing for the Bitcoin Cash city too. But I think over the next couple of years, you're going to see a huge, like a small and then a huge growing spike in the number of devs coming in to build apps for BCH. But that's just my feeling. So speaking of that, let's talk about your app. So this is just a theoretical app.
Glad you found out about BCH. How did you find out about it? On Twitter?
Or whatever, but just walk me through it
in
cashrain,
or did you hear about it somewhere
what you're kind of hoping to build.
Well, if you like to,
I sent you a link.
Sent you a link on Zoom to the demo site. I said it's demo, just it will eventually sync to my main website, which is davidhudman.com. But for right now, I've just got it in like the S3 bucket, because something about AWS, it like kind of takes a while to sync when you have
you heard through Kim.
These
nice.
These like
that's
edge
awesome
hosting things they do. Anyway, it's I can't remember the name of the service, but AWS is kind of annoying, and so the site doesn't deploy as fast as it should.
Interesting.
Anyway,
person.
to get into the free Bitcoin Cash register is kind of what I'm calling it. Basically, it's just it started with me just kind of wanting to give people a way to tip me and donate money to me. And so I heard Ryan Giffen, when I hung out with him doing the merchant onboarding, told me
Yeah.
about prompt.cash.
So if you're new,
And I
sounds
looked
like
into
you have
it
a little
and
bit
kind of saw how
experience
you can put
getting
your
some
XPub in there
BCH
and
and
just
sending some BCH. So
get addresses generated for you. And I'm like, that's a powerful thing
stop.
for customers, but they don't really
Yeah,
build
I'd
a lot
recommend just
for
continue listening
merchants
to
themselves,
the
which I feel
Bitcoin
like they
Cash
should. But
podcast. He has
since
over
they give me the
50
capability to do that,
episodes
then
on
I'm gonna
there.
go ahead and do
So
it. And so I
looks
started
like
off
he's
just
at
building it
number
for myself. I sort
66
of built
now.
it as if
He has
I
a
was
new
a
guest
restaurant.
on almost
And so,
every
over
show.
time,
And
like some
he's
friends
got
sent me
excellent
some different things
information
who might,
for
if they were
beginners and
into
advanced
Bitcoin
people
Cash,
alike.
or open to
And
trying
also
it, they
his
might send me some
website, the
pizza or
Bitcoin
beer,
Cash
whatever.
podcast, has a lot of
And eventually
factual
I created a merchant sign up
information
page.
there.
So
If you have more questions,
that is live
it
now.
has almost
And if
every
you
answer
go on the
to
website,
every
I mean, if
question
you want
you
to try
could
it out,
think
I'm
of.
not sure if we can see it on the
Yeah,
live stream.
I'm just clicking around it here. Jet, have you got it live up on the stream? Or maybe also we've got to be mindful. Some of it's just the audio listeners, right? So we've got to kind of try and describe to them. So I've got your, like, David Hardman. You've got full stack web developer. Don't cash register your LinkedIn, GitHub, and stuff. So it's kind of like a personal website type of thing, especially very common for software developers, right? Because kind of one of the ways you prove that you're a legit software dev is you make a site about you and you put it up there for when you're trying to get a job, basically, and then when you don't, you just fucking let it degrade, and then when you need a job again, you go back and touch it up with all the latest technology. That's basically how it goes, right? But if I click this first button, donate, pay me, it then says payment methods. I got 3 buttons: crypto, Venmo, and Cash App. So clicking on Cash App takes me to a screen with a little QR code that I assume, if you have a Cash App user, you can just do that, right?
Yeah, so friends of mine that just want to pay me in Cash App or Venmo, I have an option for them as well. It's just all it does is link to my profile, and then they can request, or they can they can send me some if they want. But the page that I'm drawing your attention to is the after you click the free Bitcoin Cash register, there's a create merchant page, and or there's a create merchant page button, and that allows you to define your merchant name and send me your XPub. And then once you send me your XPub, I can go through and create a prompt.cash account for you. And what that allows me to do is to monitor your transactions. So if you want to keep your privacy and you can actually save time by signing up, you can just put in your prompt.cash public token if you already have an account. You'll be sharing your XPub with them. But if you wanted to keep it away from me for some reason, and then you wouldn't get to have your activity monitored on our map. And so that's like kind of the main features. I'm showing a map of merchants, and I'm showing who's actually active based on who's signing up here, because you can list your location, and you can also provide your email to me if there's any issues or anything like that. So and anyone who I guess is interested in this and wants to sign up can just kind of write a message in one of the boxes. I don't really check anything. It's all like very it's still like it does work, but it just doesn't enforce a lot of the rules like on an XPub or what that is. So if someone wanted more information about like what I'm working on next, they could leave me their email and write in the XPub box, and I would see their note to me. So
all right, cool. So
or reach out to me on Twitter. That might be better.
I've put the link in the description there, and also we'll put it in the description of the video when we publish this on YouTube. So it's kind of like so you're making
S3 bucket.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's
right,
what we've got to go with. This is the demo version. You're now live on the beta version without realizing. It's all good.
It will be on davidhudman.com within a few days. It's got to sync up those hosting.
Yeah, it's cached. Yeah, it's cached.
Yeah, I think it's like Route 53 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah. So you've kind of like wrapped some of the prompt.cash tooling then and just made it a bit easier. I like that, because prompt.cash, are you collaborating with them directly? I imagine you've talked to like Eclipse and the devs there about this as well too. Like is like it sounds like you've just identified maybe you need an easier wrapper for
I
that,
like,
and you're sort of now providing that. And I'm sure over time it can just be all built automatically
BCH
straight in,
obviously
right?
the best, but I'm
Yeah,
also
I mean,
kind of
I
interested
have
in
talked
a few
to
other
a
ones
Clipper,
like Monero,
just kind of told the Clipper what I was working on, and that was
Nano
about
is
the
kind of
extent of it.
interesting.
I think I might have asked for one thing because I was
Ethereum.
potentially going to be signing up
Actually,
all
lots of
accounts
stuff
and
is
was
being
hoping I
built on
could create them
Ethereum for
automatically. I mean, maybe
Web3,
at some point I need to actually do this.
and so
Provide
some of
hosted
those
services on my
tokens
own.
are
But
like
I mean,
the
this will
LBC
suffice for now.
library token
And
for like
basically just allows
Odyssey.com.
people to have a
That's a
their own
coin
merchant page.
I like because
So
I
they'll go to
use
my
it on
website,
Odyssey.
davidhudman.com/merchant/
And
whatever
also
merchant name
pre-search
it'll
is
look at
another
stuff.
one that's like a secure, private, safe
and
searching tool.
I mean, that's about it. From there, that's going to be the foundation that allows
That's
me to build
another
more.
coins that,
Like I talked about the map, and then we'll also get into what you have on the slide. There is that
not too
we'll add
interested in
merchants that have
the
QR code
other
payments.
coins. I like
at
learning
restaurants.
about them, but
Yeah.
And this is sort of like the straw purchasing.
yeah, that's
We'll call it.
it's a lot of kind of like
straw purchasing is
copycats and
kind of
things.
interesting concept because you can, if you don't have a credit
Things that
card that
might
gives
not
you like
have
whatever the
any
maximum available
utility
reward
or
is
as
for whatever
much,
place
or
you're
might
going
not
to,
have it right now.
you
But
can take advantage
yeah, I've
of
heard
someone else
stuff
that
like
has
Polkadot,
that with extra capacity because
Cosmos,
sometimes they do have
and
limits. Like
Avalanche
you can't
being pretty
if it's
kinda
5%
integrated
cash
into
back on gas or
Web3
something,
somehow.
they may
So
limit
I'm
you at like
keeping my eye on
$1,500. But
those.
if someone's still got that extra capacity, then they can still pass that on to you, and that's a pretty cool concept.
Which
Right, so
room
just
I'm in?
explain
I'm in
this,
the
straw purchasing thing, because
non-destructiveness.
when you said to me, I've never heard of that.
Nels,
I imagine
thanks
a lot
for
of people
joining
outside
and
the US
asking.
have never heard of that. So
Tukataro.
what is it originally, and how does this apply with your crypto merchant solution?
Sure. So as I understand straw purchasing, the original meaning, if you want to say it, at least how it's commonly used in the U.S., is referring to people buying guns for other people. So people who have like a clean background check would go and buy the gun.
A lot of
and then
interesting
would
things
sell it to
about
somebody who
those.
maybe doesn't have that.
I'm keeping my
kind
eye
of
on
the same
it.
way.
It's just
sort of what we're doing.
I
is
have it.
We might be
I
giving
don't have a use
people
for
the option
those
to
right
buy
now.
because they can't get a credit
So
card.
it's kind of hard for me to
whatever
get
reason.
into it if I
To give you like the most
can't
local
see the
reason
potential
imaginable.
by using
Say they
it
came across the
myself,
Mexico border and like they can't
or
get a
how
credit
it can
card. Like,
benefit
poor families.
me in the
But they
future.
have
But like I said,
cryptocurrency,
I
so
feel that
we're allowing
those are
those less
systems that are
fortunate to use Bitcoin
maybe
Cash
going to be used in
and
Web3 a lot more in the
circumvent
crypto
green capitalist credit card
blockchain
companies.
scene. So
So it's kind of like an underwriting service.
But
and that's
they
maybe
might
the
be a
name
good
I'm more
speculation,
familiar with the
not
idea being that. So I go to
financial
a
advice.
restaurant and I
Good to be
order
diversified.
my $50 meal. I get that, and then so I send you the Bitcoin Cash, and then you pay the merchant in fiat, acting as kind of like a temporary.
I just heard of somebody
intermediary. Is
talking
that-
in the
is that the idea?
community
Yeah,
yesterday
so
in
let's
the
just say
Telegram
you
chat
come
that
to davidhudman.com, and when I,
think
have
they
this feature
said,
deployed,
oh,
you'll be able to do this.
they went in on Polygon
You'll submit to me
because
the
they
QR code that they give you
thought it
on
was
your
good
receipt,
as utility.
that you would,
when it was
normally you might just put the
cents
credit
on
card
the
down the
dollar,
bill,
and
or you could scan
he said he
that
put
QR code with your
40,000
phone
in,
and
and
pay
he
through the
has
website.
over 4
And so what you're
million.
going to do is
So
you're going to send me that QR code, or you're going to send me the link,
that seemed
and
like
then
a good
once you send it to me, then
investment
I can go and
for
scrape
them.
off the information to, find out how much you actually owe and what's going to satisfy the bill. So then I can request that amount of BCH from you minus maybe some kind of small discount. And then once I receive the BCH, which is instant, there's no confirmation time, zero comp. So then I can pay the
One thing that worries me about
with my credit
Cosmos,
card
I think it
that
has
potentially has a
infinite
a discount
tokens
for eating
so
out.
they could just keep
So
printing
I'm like
more.
kind of passing that on to you, and
But I'm
then
not
your bill's settled.
positive on
So
that. But I think I saw
I'm
that
also
it doesn't have
hoping
a
to use
max
restaurants, at least
supply
like the ones I
limit.
was testing
I
at.
think
People in the US
Polkadot
might be familiar with
does,
Cracker Barrel.
if I recall
Was
correctly.
kind of where I saw it. I'd just come back from the conference. I was eating at Cracker
That's
Barrel.
one thing
I saw
I
it there. And
look for
and they
first
also
in
allow you
every
to send confirmation emails
coin and
after you
token is
pay
if
the
it has
bill.
a
So
max
that's a huge thing
supply,
too,
what the
because then I
total
can bring
supply
other
is,
people
how many
in who
are in
have the credit
circulation,
cards,
how many
and
will be
they
in
can,
circulation.
would make it a requirement that you
if
have
they
to
can
send
keep
the confirmation
making them, or
email. It has to come
there's
from
a hard
CVS.
limit
so there's
to it.
ways to audit everything and verify it and see, in case anyone's trying to defraud people, there's a paper trail.
Okay, so this is obviously all going to be automated, right? You're not going to be literally sitting there waiting for it to come in and then shit, better type in my credit card
Yeah, but this
number.
is
But
where
it's
I'm gonna get
yeah.
my mom to help me just enter credit card numbers all day in these websites.
Well, you might want to start like that's often the way that these things start, right? You start doing it manually and then you automate kind of piece by piece. Like I'm sure the MVP will probably involve somebody sitting next to a computer, like on the phone, like okay, I'm typing it in now.
I mean, there could definitely be some manual parts to it, but I mean, the way I foresee it right now, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with web scraping. I've done a lot of it, and like scraping off flight data for another project out there on my website. So typing in boxes, automating all that, should be no problem.
Okay. All right. Cool. Very, very interesting. And I think it's super interesting that you're inspired as well by the conference. You know, going there gave you a physical example of how it's kind of working now, and then when you saw the fiat system back home, it was kind of lighting off creative bells there, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to, shout out Ryan Giffen again a little bit on this because when I was going around seeing how he was signing up merchants, I mean, I think I immediately noticed, like, man, he's spending money on these tablets, and that was the same thing they were doing in St. Kitts too. And it's kind of like, well, everybody here has a smartphone, employees have them, I have them. Why do we need to give them this extra hardware that buy and needs to stay charged? Why don't we just use what we already have?
Diamond.
Then not only that, it'll be because, and I guess I didn't even mention this as part of the merchant sign up page. The key thing that I'm giving them is not just a sign up page that they can go to, but I'm actually giving them a printable QR code that they can display in their business with like very simple instructions. So it's got like 5 quick steps, and I'm not sure if that's something that we can throw up on the screen, but
ask any question
or something.
like.
Yeah, maybe. How do we? Yeah, just tell.
If I could do a screen share or something like that, maybe that would be good. But anyway, when they sign up, they're going to get a QR code that links to their merchant page, and it's going to have the
Look at the
5
faces.
simple instructions, and they're not going to be able to screw
he
it
hits
up.
the full house.
It's like
I don't know about that part.
Okay,
like that.
okay, sorry. Maybe I was a little bit
invent
too
a simpler system.
chill?
I'll find you a better idiot. That's,
Yeah, right.
That's always the way. But I'm sure with a bit of iteration, it'll be slimmed down to the point that a monkey can do it. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, right. It's like the people coming in to pay, they're probably going to be competent
I don't
users
smoke,
for the most part. I mean, we should be aware that maybe they won't be, but for the most part, they're going to be the ones that know something. The employees aren't going to be trained on this.
Exactly,
So it's providing employee instructions really, which in this case, it's just 4 instructions. It's the employee scans the QR code with their phone. The employee enters the amount owed in the text box, and the employee shows the QR code that gets generated to the customer.
Herb.
The customer pays, and then the employee
these little
waits for the
Jello
green check
gummies.
confirmation. And it's
they're
4
pretty
steps.
powerful.
That's it.
I must say. It's
Pretty
only like
straightforward.
it only says it's
all right.
And having that
10
and having those
milligrams,
instructions in the business
for
is
some
free
reason it's been
advertisement.
kicking my
I mean,
butt
we're-
lately. I don't know.
Bitcoin Cash accepted here.
Maybe there's something else in it.
It's not just like a thing. It's like this is
usually
how
have
you do
pretty
it. So
good tolerance for
then
edible.
the customers start to understand. The more casual
little
customers
new ones that I
might
got
kind of look at that and say, "Oh, that doesn't sound
pretty
too hard."
nice.
But I'm a technologist already. Why not at least try it or something? There's a lot of programmers out there, so might appeal to them.
Yeah, no, this is very, very cool stuff, and I love to see this kind of innovation in the community, right? Because it's something that's very different between BCH and a lot of other communities because there is so much of a focus on onboarding people in real life. Like at the conference, obviously I was talking to people, but I saw several other times, people like Ryan, like you said, and Bitcoin Jason, they're really good at it. These guys are really good at it. Getting people to say, okay, just try it out. Here you go. Here's how it is. Let me explain, send, receive, blah, blah, blah. And then you also have all the tooling and there's so on and so forth. Other coins are not really going to be able to compete with a lot of that, even if they think that they can, or it's not easy. And there's a whole ecosystem of not only knowledge in the actual heads of the community as to how this is all done, but also all the tools that go along with it, which are obviously being built mostly just for BCH, or at least there are some coin agnostic ones, right? But the BCH ones are being just built for the BCH community. So somebody out of Litecoin wants to suddenly do their adoption in
I'm gonna be
St.
here
Kitts, but anywhere
every
else.
day.
you know, in
So
Texas,
come back
then
again.
they're gonna have to
Take care.
reinvent all this stuff or start from scratch or look at what we're doing, but you know, we have integrations and things that they're gonna have to do themselves, and then they're gonna come up with their own ideas, which is gonna be less battle tested, and so and all that just adds up quickly as
Yes,
to how I
for
can see.
sure. I'm here every weekday, 8 to 10 p.m. Central, and I'm gonna be here
BCH getting ahead and ahead and ahead in the
weekends,
race until
1
it
to
just becomes
3
obvious.
Central.
Like it's easier to switch to BCH than it is to rebuild everything on this other coin.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm happy to provide, you know, Lightning
If you
integration
join me on
if it's
Twitter,
possible. I mean, it'd
I'll
be
give
extra
you all
work for
the
me, so like I
updates.
probably
There's a
won't do it.
schedule
But
there too.
Maxis are willing to work with me, and you know, I do know a few out there that you know might be one to lend a hand. It's like, okay, yeah, we can put that on the site. But as far as using Lightning for you know some of these you know straw purchasing type things where you're passing on the discount, it's like Lightning might not work as well because you do get fees in Lightning, and sometimes they can go pretty high. So I wouldn't. I mean, sometimes they can be low. It may work fine. But I mean, I think it's a lot easier to use BCH. So, kind of open to whatever. Yeah.
No complaints
I'm
from
a
me.
little
I'm
bit
not-
agnostic, but that seems to be you know I guess I'm trying to kind of take the entrepreneur route. Some of the people we met at the conference seem to be taking that route, and they were probably doing the coolest stuff. Not to mention too
how
many
come I
names.
can never
You know,
get
don't want to expose too many
stands
people.
like that?
Yes.
It's coming. It's coming though. People are getting hype, and yeah, there's a lot of people are building stuff in the scene, and then that take you know it's under the radar for 6 months, 9 months. Or things take a long time to build, you know, especially when people are not funded by huge VCs, and then they can just do it full time. But then on the other hand, if it doesn't work fast enough, they're just screwed because then it's like, what have you got for me? And we own it all anyway at the end of the day because we've been paying you to work on it. This kind of homegrown stuff, maybe it takes a little bit longer to get rolling, but once it gets rolling, it is actually sustainable because it was just people built it up themselves, right? So I actually kind of prefer if the community has a lot of that stuff, homegrown stuff cooking, because then once some VCs get involved and interested, what happens is they accelerate those projects that are already working, rather than like we see in crypto tossing away money on all this bullshit that falls apart, you know, sooner or later. It was just funded off VC dreams. So, you know.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious. There's not a lot of comments on it, it seems like. So, but I do see the link you posted, so in the chat.
Well, yeah, we'll get the people in the chat can click on the link there. They keep bringing up the soccer. I think we're pretty excited about the World Cup right now. So in other news, we've got here much of the crypto industry continues to chase around Sam Bankman-Fried and sort through the wreckage of the $10 billion loss. We've had Elon on Twitter releasing what he called the Twitter files with this journalist Matt Taibbi about Twitter being influenced by the government to censor and delete posts that people were just sending messages from the kind of government, both Republican and Democrat, but more often the Democrats, basically saying, can you deal with these links? And then the Twitter stuff were just sent back, handled, like they just deleted them, like no questions asked, like we're just the government's propaganda outlet, basically in that regard, including most famously the Hunter Biden laptop and all the things wrapped up in that. And then you've also had JP Morgan trademarking a cryptocurrency payment processing wallet. So they're obviously trying to find their way into crypto after years, and probably still today, saying this is nothing and we're ignoring it, and you guys and your stupid little toy, well, they kind of can't ignore it any longer. It's starting to move on without them, so they're scrambling to get involved. So what do you make of any or all of these? This is just the grab bag of other topics to have some thoughts on. I know you were asking me about the FTX
go
stuff
a little bit later
well.
today so I can watch
I mean,
the
that's probably the most
and
interesting to our
get some more
audience,
people
or
that click on
this
this
new listeners.
box
But
that
I can't help but look at the JP Morgan thing and say, I mean, I didn't know about that, and
still
gosh, I'm
29
glad I'm entering into that space, because maybe they'll be looking for a free Bitcoin Cash register, and And I'm trying to be a little bit sneaky with my names, like a little bit subversive. If I can kind of use like blend names together so it's not obvious whether I'm just like using Bitcoin or using Bitcoin Cash. Like Maxis might
4, 5, 6,
understand, but
7.
newbies probably won't. So
Okay, we gotta lure him in.
That's kind of a cool way to go about it, I think. But I don't know, as far as like the FTX stuff,
Reel him in.
I mean, I've heard so many things about it. It's I feel like it's creating a buying opportunity though, because it's just created so much negative
Yeah, of course.
conversation
Everyone
around
folds when I have a good
currency.
hand. Should've
That,
just
like I was saying earlier, it's like people were actually hostile to just receiving it for free.
So often.
Or I say receiving it for free. I mean, maybe like getting a tip or something. But
okay, let's get this flush.
I mean, you tie in like apparently our politicians were getting
4, 5.
donations through this company, and like somehow Ukraine was involved. Like I've heard that several places. That isn't something I've like read a lot into, so I don't totally understand what's accurate. But man, it was like the day it blew up. I remember Zelensky was like kind of calling for like a peace deal like immediately. It went from being like just like a very like hawkish, like we have to destroy Putin, or we have to do whatever, to like, oh, like we'll come back, we'll come to the table, we'll figure this thing out
again.
And then FTX blows up, and suddenly that's the new biggest story in the world.
Did it.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't, to be honest. I've followed this a medium amount, but I still feel sort of very unqualified because there's so many loose strands and edges and whatever to it that it's ridiculous. It certainly does seem like, well, the first point is that the whole St. Kitts thing was going on at the same time, and that was basically entirely unaffected, which was amazing to see. It is true that if everybody's using non-custodial wallets and using it as a currency, doesn't matter if FTX blow it. Nobody was whinging about their money being lost in FTX. Nobody had any money in FTX. Everybody had been taught and educated how to use it properly. So that was amazing to see. And I did hear some other tourists were talking about, oh, the FTX, blah, blah. So they were talking about it. But then one guy was trying to explain the difference between the Bitcoin Cash stickers and adoption that they were seeing around the island and the FTX stuff, and kind of doing a bit of a bad job. But it was interesting to see that the BCH community, both locally in St. Kitts, and I'd say also in general, because they are very focused on not your keys, not your coins, and blah, 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 were quite insulated from it. Then you have the fact that, yeah, there seems to be a lot of shady shenanigans going on with, obviously, donations to the Democratic Party, which were known about beforehand. Everybody had already been pointing that out, but it now looks a lot worse once all the fraud and all the lost money, kind of came out of it. That looks worse. And then the connections that they had between, SBF and his parents and who they knew, and they were part of the Democratic Party and all this stuff. It's just so bad. And the more you get into it, the more you're like,
I forgot,
reality
I'm at
is
a real
stranger
table. I'm
than
at a tournament
fiction
called the
kind
Block
of thing.
Party.
And they
the
certainly
current
had this
Block
week. They
Party.
had
There's
a
like
couple of
hourly
Twitter
free-roll Block
Spaces.
Party
They
every
had
hour.
one
I'm in
which
the
Sam
current one.
Bankman-Fried came on. It was, this guy should be in jail. What's he doing having Twitter Spaces with, Twitter crypto influencers, and people are trying to nail him down.
King.
There was this one guy
Again.
doing a like interrogation of him kind of thing, with asking him these questions, but he was kind of softballing him these really crummy questions, basically, where Sam Bankman-Fried, the way he talks a lot is he kind of just says, oh, I'm sorry, and ums and ahs and stumbles around a bit, and then says, well, I don't quite know exactly what you're talking about, and a lot of these sort of weasel words to try and get around the question. So there was this whole stream, I'll have to find a link and put it in the description, of people talking to him, which with Mario Nawal or whatever his name is, and this guy Chet Long, and they had him for about an hour, and he just stumbled his way through all this stuff. Then right in the last 2 minutes, Kim.com and CoffeeZilla came in, and they were just that was like the fireworks. That was the real stuff. But just as they got in there and they started pressing Sam on some hard questions, suddenly it was like, oh, we got to wrap up this space, guys. We didn't have time for any more questions. Thanks, everyone. Blah, blah, blah. See you later. So
Wow.
I was just super disappointed to see that, yeah, the hard hitters, once they were brought in, it was like, oh, that's it, guys. We used up all the money on the botched previous guy who spent 40 minutes out of the 1 hour on his random tangent that nobody cared about. So I was just disappointed in that. But that certainly seems to be what's preoccupying the crypto space at the moment. It's just like, oh, these 8 billion is gone. What happened to it? You know?
Yeah, I'd love to see the link to that if anyone has it. I don't know if someone can like post it in the chat or something, but
Yeah.
I see
Let me see if I can
see
find it.
Kim.com's tweet on it. Yeah, I would love to check that out.
It's a very enlightening look at, and I mean, to me, it also really just like the average person thinking that crypto is just full of scams and this big casino of everyone losing their money. I understand why they think that, because it's just two different worlds: on the ground adoption and an
bad idea.
ecosystem and community being created in St. Kitts, and then them overshadowed by this huge, ridiculous Ponzi schemes and scams and frauds and
Who's got
all
it?
that stuff. And it's just, it's tiring for me,
Two pair.
whenever I
Let's
look at it, because
go.
I'm like, is this what you guys are really focusing on? Is this what people are spending the time? Yes, it is, because that's a lot of people getting scammed there, and that's truly unfortunate. But hopefully, eventually, the education will break through, and people will start to see the light. But I'll find this space. I'll link it to you right after
Alright.
this
Well,
show.
I
And
think
you
we
can,
gotta wrap up
you
the
can have a
stream
listen,
now.
but
So
it truly
thanks everyone
doesn't
for joining, or if you're watching this in
promote
the
a lot
future,
of faith in the broader cryptocurrency
hello from the
community,
past, and
because
thank you for checking
they're
it
busy
out.
stumbling over themselves.
Come
I don't
again
even know
next
why.
time.
Why
I
was
think
he even doing
we'll be
this
doing
chat?
these
Shouldn't his lawyers be?
live cash boxes. So you need to be in here to know when the cash box is live, and then you can click on it and get some BCH. So thanks again. Peace out, fam.